Thank you for being back with your drinks. That was a very short break, but there's a real treat up for us because here's yet one more young person who absolutely revels in the idea of discomfort. Sushant Singh Rajput is best known for his films Kai Poche, Mahendra Singh Dhoni and Bomkesh Bakshi, but he's done a couple of others. But what's fascinating about him is that he started out an engineering student. He came 7th in the All India Engineering Entrance Test, and all of us know what that means. He also won the National Olympiad for Physics, and he's been studying astrophysics and all of that. And in the midst of that, he gives it up and joins Shamak Davar's dance troupe, goes into television, builds a very, very big career in television, kicks that up, goes into cinema, sits for 6 months, not getting any role, but is not comfortable doing television anymore, and then enters into cinema. And what is fascinating about Sushant is that unlike many other young entrants to this extremely public, extremely agonizing form, because it is so public, your failures and your triumphs are so public, Sushant has made very distinctive choices driven by a very distinctive philosophy and a very distinctive idea of where he wants to be and how he wants to live his life. So to understand that journey, to understand where he's moving towards and why he made the choices he did, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome someone that I'm told is a major heartthrob with the younger generation, Sushant Singh Rajput. Thank you. You didn't get your mic. I think we need to give him his mic. Thank you for being here, Sushant.
Thank you for having me here.
Like all good stories, one starts at the beginning, and you have such a fascinating beginning to start with, Sushant. As we just said, it's almost inconceivable that someone who pretty much tops an engineering entrance test, gets into an engineering college, is clearly, somewhat of a genius at physics, the way we guys think of physics. Why would you give that up to go and join Shamak Davar, become an extra, part of the dance troupe in IFA, move to television? All of it would seem pretty inexplicable. So what moved you to do that?
I think there was only one thing that was going for me, and that was that I was just aware. And I was told that, choose one thing, or probably they gave me that thing to be very good at. And they asked me, my parents and everybody who loved me, they said that you need to be an engineer because, being a doctor was, I have 4 sisters. So they were asked to be doctors. I was asked to be an engineer. And probably after that, if we were good at what we were doing, we were expected to sit for civil services. And that was the thing. So yeah, I was doing it, but thankfully, I was also aware of the process itself. I knew that, okay, there is something missing. I was told that, okay, by the way, I started off as being this very shy and introvert kid. Because I was the youngest in my family, very pampered. I didn't know how to deal with people when I used to step out. So any sort of acknowledgement meant a lot. Also coming from a very humble background, money was always a differentiator in my life. So the money and any sort of acknowledgement were 2 big differentiators. And I was told that if you get these 2, you will be successful and then everything will be all right. But while I was doing it, and I cleared all these engineering entrance exams and I was studying, and I was just aware of what was happening. And I felt that, okay, this is not something, it's not giving me that high because it's boring. And that was the starting point. And well, I started off, I'll be extremely honest because after clearing such tough engineering entrance exams, when I went to that college, I found that there were no girls. And I was like, I felt, yeah, absolutely. I felt cheated. I was like, okay, this is not what it is. Because they told me that work hard be an engineer and marry a nice girl, and that's what will happen. But that didn't seem to be a probability because there were no girls in my college. Somebody told me that why don't you join dance school, and I went there. But something very, very, very interesting happened, and
There's
why?
clearly a girl clapping there.
While I was performing for the first time on stage, I recognize this want of me that I really want to be, or probably I have been wanting to be understood. And that was the starting point. Shamak asked me to do theater. It was a wonderful way of resonating with everybody because I was like, okay, don't judge me because I'm not me on stage. I was hiding behind all these fascinating characters and possibly saying the same things that I wanted to say. And I could see these strangers getting affected by what I was saying, what I was doing, and it was magical. So just being aware of the process and just telling myself that if I can be in top 1% in something which I probably don't like, now that I've identified something that I do like, and I don't care what people think of me, it doesn't feel like hard work. I want to take risks. There's nothing else but to perseverance is the thing because that is the only thing that I want to do. So all these things were at place, and identifying that, I was like, okay, this is something I like. I can very well be in top 1% of this. And just being clear about my awareness, I dropped out.
So, Sushant, you've spoken of this sense of relief when you were on the stage, whether dancing or even later acting when Shamak asked you to take up acting. Can you explain that further? That when you say that you came from a pampered family, that you had 4 elder sisters, when you stepped out into the larger world, it was almost a sense of shock. You felt that for almost 16, 17 years, nobody really saw you or understood you. Can you explain that? What was that sense of alienation you felt? And what is this sense of relief that you feel as being an actor, that you don't have to play yourself?
Well, there are 2 things to it. Number 1 was how did I convince myself into dropping out of a very prestigious engineering college into doing something which is very, very dicey. And number 2, what I found while doing it. So number 1 was, like I said, that if I could be in top 1% in something that I don't like, I can very well be in top 1% which I absolutely like. And I promised myself a fancy house and a fancy car in Bandra because I got to know that Shah Rukh stays in Bandra. So I was like, okay, this is what you'll get, and drop out. And just 6 to 8 months away from getting myself a degree, I dropped out because I thought that it will be a better state to be in if I don't have a plan B. Because I won't be thinking that if nothing happens, I'll go back to this. I perform better when I don't know that there is plan B. So that was one thing. And number 2, what I realized was something which I think is not specific to me, but is specific to almost everybody. And there's this question mark every time you're doing something because you expect that that certain thing would give you something, but it is not actually that. We have this tendency to overestimate the hedonic impact that has to with anything that has to do with future. We think that, okay, I'll be successful, people will recognize me, I'll be rich, and everything will be sorted. Or if I am a failure, I don't know what will happen. But when that event happens, it is not the same. And there are lots of experiments that have been done on this. And Dan Gilbert talks about it, where there is a group of, there are 2 groups. One group is these amazing, promising CEOs of the world, and they lose their limb. And there's another group when these people are actually thinking about the next meal, and they win a lottery, $1 million lottery. And what happens is there's a big spike in their mental state after that event. But after a few weeks, and let me say, I'm not exaggerating, it's not about after a few years, after a few months, it's about after a few weeks. Group A, they still don't have their limbs. And group B still have money. But that graph comes back to the original state. So we have this tendency to think that something would happen after a certain event. And I think that's a lie. That doesn't happen. But thankfully, I was doing something that I absolutely like. I give this example to everybody who asks me this. I was told to be an engineer. I enjoyed reading anything about physics or mathematics. But I was told that, okay, 4 to 5:30 is the time when you can go out and play. And I would still wait for 4 p.m. to happen. I would go out, and 4 to 5:30 would happen in 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, time is so subjective. And I'm so sure that last 11 years I've been acting, I feel like I've been living that 4 to 5:30 life. I don't know that I'm working hard. From somebody else's point of view, probably I am, but I don't know that I'm working hard. I don't think that I take risks. Like I'll give you an example that when you play a video game and you are sorted with the first level, what do? You are intrigued that what would happen in the second level, and that's the only way to go. So I try and choose scripts in which the characters I don't completely understand. And this is precisely the reason why I do it, because I don't know. So I think this thing, everybody should understand, that it is okay not to know. It is okay to admit that I don't know. And it is okay to like unpredictability. Because when once in 10 times, or probably 100 times, when you stumble upon something which is new, fresh, that is so addictive that you don't care about the 99 times that you fail.
Yeah. So to come back to my earlier question, Sushant, that you said that you felt an almost excruciating shyness as a young boy, as an adolescent, even when you were in engineering college. And then acting just opened it up for you. You know, you felt, as I said again, a sense of relief that you could hide behind these characters and you could project, and you didn't have to project yourself anymore. Has acting changed you? Do you feel less shy now? Do you feel less traumatized now in trying to be yourself?
I'm just aware of the fact that I'm shy. I'm just okay with the fact that I have this inability to express myself. I didn't know why I felt so disorienting. Because the moment I used to think about something and then I wanted to put it in words, there was this inherent loss of meaning. And then I would articulate it. Obviously, that depends on your comprehension, your state of mind, your attention, everything. There are so many parameters that are not there in my hand. And I would judge myself thinking that probably I'm not right, or what I'm saying is not right. But now I know that, like I said, it is okay to be wrong. It is okay not to be careful. It is okay if that's personal, if that's fresh, it's something that you really believe in. It's okay to be understood to be something, probably in physics, we are told that this is the first law, this is the second law. In mathematics, this is the right answer. So we are obsessed with thinking that there is a simple one answer to probably complicated questions. But what I've understood in the process of doing what I do is that there are no right answers. There are only ways of seeing. And it might not be my way of seeing could not be your way of seeing, but that's fine. We should be okay with this difference of looking at the same thing differently, and then probably collaborate and explore together. But yeah, I'm okay to be wrong.
Okay. It's well said, Sushant. So, moving on with this strand of literally seeking discomfort, you moved from being a dancer at IFA and being part of Shamak Davar's troupe to getting this really big role. I haven't seen you, but I know many people who've been absolutely, like they saw you on TV and they said, okay, this boy has it. In Pavitra Rishta, you were doing really well, earning a lot of money. All the things that you were talking about, the future had arrived in the present. And while you were enjoying that, you suddenly decided to chuck it up and move yet again to newer pastures. What was that? Now you were already doing something you liked. You were already projecting other characters. What was the new restlessness that took over and made you leave all of that as well?
It's the same thing. I'm a very selfish guy, also a very selfish actor. So what I thought was, okay, I'm not being,
And you had girls in television.
oh, yes, you bet. So for a few weeks, I was like really happy. I was like, okay, I need to be very excited, although I was not, because I was getting very quickly used to everything that I had. Like we have discussed, what are the things. But now what we do, generally, the tendency is to change the context. Now that after that point of inflection, that I have that much money that I don't have to think about money, and that sort of acknowledgement where people who you don't know you, you become okay with that fact, and those things stop giving you any high. So what you do is you quickly change your context, and you're like, okay, these are the people who are in top 1%, and I think in the same category, and let me now prove them that I am the best. But what you are doing actually is probably holding on to what you think is right, and you're being a better repetition. That's it. And you're being obsessed with those events in which you can prove these people that you're better. But that's not a very great state to be in. Like somebody said that even at the end of the day, when you win a rat race, you're still a rat. So we quickly change the context, and ignoring the fact that there are so many parameters that are not there in your hand, but probably those will support you in one event, those won't support you in one. And if I'm judging myself according to that, I will be incessantly confused and fidgety in order to prove a point. I got to know that I'm not in control. When I was studying, I was like, okay, I just need to remember the laws. I just need to remember the formulas. And when they ask me, it's very simple. It's like they take a test on just two things. One is my comprehension. Two, how much I can retain. And three, in a stipulated time, how much information I can come up with and try to make sense. These things are very simple things. But when you're actually there and you're doing something like performing arts, what you find that, okay, now you're in top 1%. Now those things are not the differentiators. No matter you...
Just hold on, Sushant.